Gospel sensation Jonathan McReynolds has just revealed something that has left the gospel world in shock, and it's not just about his music. In a deeply emotional moment that had him fighting back tears, Jonathan confessed something his fans had only whispered about for years. She was the love of my life, and I lost her. But who was this mystery woman, and why did Jonathan keep their heartbreaking story a secret for so long? Prepare yourself for the emotional truth behind this raw confession. It's a story you won't believe. For years, Jonathan McReynolds has been known as the quiet storm in gospel music. His powerful vocals, soul-stirring lyrics, and untouchable reputation have made him a beloved figure. But recently, everything changed. During a live appearance that left fans stunned, Jonathan dropped a bombshell confession, one that has left both fans and insiders reeling. What really happened? Who was the woman Jonathan once called the love of his life? And why did he keep this relationship and the pain of losing it hidden from the public eye for so long? In this video, we're digging into Jonathan's emotional confession, exploring behind-the-scenes whispers, and uncovering the real reason he's been so guarded about his personal life. From past interviews that now carry a different weight to fan theories that turned out to be shockingly accurate, nothing is off limits. You won't believe the truth behind the woman who captured Jonathan's heart, and why the heartbreak left scars deeper than anyone realized. Stick around, because we're about to reveal the first clues that Jonathan's heart had been broken long before the world ever knew. One of the most respected names in modern evangelical music for many years has been Jonathan McReynolds. Not just for his Grammy-winning voice, but also for his personal demeanor. Neat, personal, and loyal, he has consistently focused on his music and his spirituality. Fans, however, have long conjectured that Jonathan was concealing something or someone from the public. Early in his career, the whisper began. Jonathan always seemed to avoid the subject, even though other well-known artists frequently discussed their romantic relationships in interviews or posted about them on social media. He provided general responses when questioned about relationships. Either I'm waiting for the appropriate moment or I'm concentrating on God. It was admirable, to be sure, but those answers seemed staged in some way. When fans spotted faint references in his lyrics in 2018, speculations began to circulate. Many speculated that the singer had experienced a traumatic breakup after hearing lines like, "I know I lost something I didn't deserve, and you were the light I couldn't hold on to." Nevertheless, until recently, Jonathan has never directly addressed the rumors. Some fans even went so far as to put him in touch with specific women in the R&B and gospel scenes. Some thought he had dated a famous gospel singer whose name kept appearing in fan forums. Someone who is equally quiet, spiritual, and mindful of their public persona. Some believe that the woman was not involved in the profession at all, which would account for Jonathan's decision to keep her out of the public eye. However, a mysterious Instagram post Jonathan posted in 2001 at the height of the pandemic was what stoked the flames. With the straightforward caption, "Some things don't end the way, they just echo differently," it featured him by himself at the piano. In gospel circles, the post went viral. Fans couldn't help but wonder, was this about a failed relationship, a lost love? Jonathan hasn't said anything yet, though. Furthermore, he didn't use a well-crafted press release or a passive-aggressive song lyric when he did speak. It was uncooked. It was authentic. Furthermore, it was heartbreaking. They don't want you to know the surprising part, though. This was more than just a split. According to some with knowledge of the matter, Jonathan's entire perspective on ministry, music, and love may have been influenced by this woman. In the following section, we will discuss that. Everything changed because of her. Jonathan's most poignant songs were written by this woman. Every great artist has a muse at their core, someone who pushes them, encourages them, and occasionally breaks them in ways that the outside world never witnesses. And that muse wasn't merely a passing connection or a chance meeting for Jonathan McReynolds. She was the one. According to others who have worked closely with him, even though we never knew her name, she was the inspiration behind some of his most vulnerable, soul-arching songs. Who was she then? A woman Jonathan dated in private in his late 20s has been alluded to by a number of sources. Someone with a strong religious foundation like him. They claim she was more than just pretty. She was strong, rooted, and fully aware of her identity in Christ. Furthermore, she was aware of the pressure Jonathan was under as a growing star in the gospel industry. Because of their closeness, Their relationship was both unique and delicate. The twin meanings of songs like Cycles, Make Room, and even the heartbreaking Lover of My Soul have long been suspected by fans. Even though they are worship songs, some of the lyrics feel quite intimate, more like dialogue between a man and a loved one than between a believer and God. Consider this passage from Cycles. Look at the devil. Even though you don't learn from your mistakes, he does. It's spiritual on the surface. However, if you look more closely, it seems like a confession. Someone who is plagued by the loss of what they are unable to maintain. It's possible that someone is repeating habits they wish they had broken sooner. Even during his live performances, Jonathan's tone changed, his eyes grew teary, and his voice cracked. "Why do I feel like Jonathan's singing to someone who's not here anymore?" was a tweet made by a fan in 222 during a live recording. Thousands of other fans also felt the same way, and the comment received over 20 likes. According to insiders, the relationship started while Jonathan was just starting to gain notoriety. He was still figuring out what it meant to be a gospel performer in a field that doesn't necessarily value emotional health, limits, or purity. But she was on his side. She joined him in prayer. She even encouraged him to write less for the market and more from the heart. This is the unfortunate part, though. The pressure to constantly be flawless, the fame, and the continuous touring got in the way sometime along the line. A close acquaintance claimed that Jonathan struggled to decide between his calling and his love. He made his decision, and it was already too late when he recognized what he had lost. The woman had quietly and drama-free moved on. There was no nasty headlines or public split, simply a quiet farewell that left Jonathan to deal with everything on his own through his music. Fans started to detect a change at that point. His lyrics became more profound. He spoke in a more thoughtful tone. His Instagram, which used to be full of funny pictures and behind-the-scenes smiles, started to become more reflective and occasionally even lonely. Jonathan was questioned about what influenced his writing style in an early 2023 podcast interview. Pain was his reaction. "The topics I avoided discussing at church, I didn't even know how to pray for the things I lost until they were gone." He didn't mention names, but we could tell by the anguish in his voice. Jonathan has now at last verified it after all these years. She was authentic. He was in love with her. He did indeed lose her. Was fame the only thing that stood in the way, though? Or does this story have a deeper and more tragic hidden meaning? Fans had long wondered why Jonathan McReynolds, who was known for being open about his personal life in his songs, appeared to be so private. Why conceal from the public such a significant relationship, which reportedly served as the inspiration for his most profound work? What did he want to keep safe, or was he attempting self-defense? We must comprehend the implicit pressure that comes with being a male gospel star, particularly one as young, attractive, and powerful as Jonathan, in order to comprehend why he never made his relationship public. Artists are frequently held to unattainable ideals of perfection, purity, and emotional control in evangelical culture. People begin to doubt your anointing as soon as you display weakness or acknowledge that you have loved, lost, or even desired someone. Furthermore, revealing a love relationship would have drastically changed Jonathan's reputation. Jonathan entered the market as a young, unmarried man singing about spiritual struggles. People who knew both Jonathan and his mystery girlfriend said that they had made a secret love deal. He wished to avoid criticism of his ministry. Her identity should not be reduced to that of Jonathan McReynolds' girlfriend. They were attempting to create something holy without allowing the general population to destroy it. But there is a price for secrecy. Emotional seclusion gradually replaced what had begun as protection. According to insiders, the woman started to feel less important and more like a secret. There were no public affirmations, no love songs with names, and no pictures of date nights. Jonathan may have been shielding her from criticism, but she started to feel alienated and unwelcome in his world. Shortly after the relationship ended, a mysterious quote was uploaded on Facebook by someone who was allegedly close to her and has since erased the post. "If he is too afraid to publicly declare his love for you, you shouldn't keep quiet about him in private." The message was clear whether it was aimed at Jonathan or not. Yes, she had left in silence, but also for her own recovery. This is when the pain gets even worse, though. Jonathan did not defend her. Close sources claim that he let her leave because he believed that publicly adoring her would jeopardize everything he had worked so hard to achieve, not because he didn't love her. His position in a church society that still stigmatizes vulnerability his brand, and his platform, and he was troubled by that choice. The quote that came up again this year was Jonathan's admission, made in a rare moment of unvarnished honesty during a Q&A at a private gospel retreat in late 2024. "I lost something. Someone because I thought hiding her was protecting us. But the truth is, I was hiding my fear, and it cost me the best thing I ever had. Because life is short." A source close to Jonathan says that the recent death of a fellow gospel artist made him rethink everything. That was the moment that fans realized this wasn't just a what could have been story, but rather a love that lived, breathed, and broke quietly behind the scenes. And finally, Jonathan was ready to speak on it. Why now? Why is he opening up in 2025 after years of silence? Love is brittle, and perhaps, just possibly, holding it all inside was hurting him and his fans, who turned to him for music as a form of healing. But what about the woman? Where is she now? And did she ever reply to Jonathan's heartfelt confession? And that leads us to the most unexpected aspect of this tale. Did she ever return? Her silent reaction to Jonathan McReynolds' public admission that she was the love of my life left fans speechless. It was a rare instance of unbridled vulnerability from a man who had perfected the art of keeping his personal life private, and it evoked long-held feelings, sparked fresh discussions, and even brought some fans to tears. One issue remained though. Did she hear it? If so, did she respond? According to people close to both sides, she did. Although she didn't post a direct reaction or agree to an interview, those close to her say she was impacted by the revelation. It was shocking, like a public outburst that even her closest friends and family were caught off guard. What's more interesting is that a few weeks after Jonathan's tearful admission, fans noticed a sudden shift in her social media activity. She had no idea Jonathan was going to say any of it. He hadn't warned her or reached out. No names, no mysterious captions. But the change was obvious. She shared a black and white picture of a closed piano with the quote, "Writing, some melodies were never meant to be completed, just remembered." Fans quickly figured out what it was, and comments began to pour in. "Are you talking about Jonathan?" Seemed to be a reaction to what he said. And let's not forget, gospel fans are detectives when it comes to subtle clues. They pointed out that she liked a clip of Jonathan singing "Make Room" just days after his confession, which, for someone who had remained silent for years, said it all. She never confirmed or denied anything, but sometimes silence speaks louder than words. However, does this imply that there is hope? Is there a possibility that they could reunite, even if only for closure? According to a longtime friend of Jonathan's, he doesn't anticipate her return. He said what he did because he needed to heal, not to reopen old wounds. He's finally facing the pain instead of avoiding it. However, you can be sure that he would pick her up if she ever reached out. Nevertheless, there is still hope for reconciliation, not in a fairy tale sense, but in a very real grown-up way between two individuals who were bonded by a relationship that changed them both, but were divided by time, fear, and celebrity. Some people walk into your life to make you better, not to stay forever. But that doesn't mean their love wasn't real or that you ever stopped loving them. Jonathan said in a recent live video that fans are still watching and analyzing. Thousands of people were moved by this statement because many could identify with it. But there's still one last chapter to this story, and it's the one that Jonathan himself is only just starting to write. In the last section, we're examining what all of this means for Jonathan's future as a man, an artist, and a believer. The one that got away, the person who completely altered your course, the person you continue to pray for even when they're no longer in your life. Now that the truth is out, what will happen to him? Can he ever love again? After years of silent suffering and heartfelt songwriting, Jonathan McReynolds has finally opened up. His heartfelt admission that she was his true love has not only shocked the gospel community, but also shown that he is no longer afraid to show his humanity to the outside world. Jonathan's ability to put emotion into lyrics has always been admired, but now that fans know where a lot of that emotion came from, it's given his music new weight, and his audience isn't just listening anymore, they're feeling every word. Now, everyone is wondering what Jonathan will do next. This moment of honesty could be a turning point not only in his personal life, but in his entire ministry. It's being described as a healing project, a journey through heartbreak, acceptance, forgiveness, and finally, freedom. According to insiders, Jonathan is already working on his next album, which will be the most personal yet. One producer involved with the project stated, "You're going to hear the truth, not just the polished Sunday morning praise songs." However, beyond the music and the ministry, Jonathan is stepping into something even more significant: emotional wholeness. He is also reportedly considering writing a book, not a memoir, but a devotional-style reflection on love, loss, and God's grace in the in-between moments. He wants to help people who, like him, had to choose purpose over passion or thought they did. During a recent sermonette at a church appearance in Atlanta, Jonathan looked out over the congregation and said, "I used to think that love lost meant failure, but now I know it just means you were brave enough to love at all." He has also been spotted attending mental health conferences, collaborating with organizations that support men in ministry, and speaking out more openly about the importance of processing grief rather than just ignoring it with religious platitudes. It received a standing ovation, not because the message was flawless, but rather because of its unvarnished truth. Jonathan is no longer aiming to be the ideal gospel star. Instead, he is attempting to be genuine, honest, and whole. And that honesty is allowing others to heal as well. Will he ever reconcile with the woman he once loved? Perhaps, perhaps not. Because sometimes the most anointed witness isn't about winning. We do know that Jonathan McReynolds is growing even more powerful, not in image, but in impact, by living his songs instead of hiding behind them.